Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by BetterHelp.com and LittleShaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk about a cognitive distortion that many narcissists have enormous trouble with, and that is emotional reasoning. You've probably heard it said more than once that narcissistic personalities believe that feelings are facts. Certainly, we use that phrase on this channel all the time to describe the way narcissists seem to perceive many of their experiences. That is what happens with cognitive distortion known as emotional reasoning. Using emotions to help us interpret things and make decisions is not a bad thing. Emotions are necessary for many things and they can be very helpful. The problem occurs when we consistently rely too much on our emotion in this way, and when the result is that we're routinely giving our emotions more weight in our interpretations or decisions than we're giving to the evidence and to facts. Cognitive distortions are sometimes known as negative thinking patterns. They are thinking errors that result in an incorrect or exaggerated interpretation of events or experiences. With emotional reasoning in narcissistic personalities, the situation is often interpreted completely through the emotions, which can cause it to be interpreted incorrectly. The narcissist's feelings are considered to be evidence or proof of the reality of things and are therefore relied upon more than the actual facts of the situation and carry more weight in their interpretation of their experience. I feel like you don't like me, therefore you really don't like me. I feel like you're intentionally trying to anger or embarrass me, therefore you really are trying to intentionally anger or embarrass me. For narcissistic people, this goes even further into a circular logic that is impossible to penetrate. It isn't just that I have concluded you were trying to anger me on purpose. The fact that I feel angry in the first place is undeniable proof that this was in fact your goal and there is no other possible interpretation of the situation. The fact that I got angry about what you said or did is proof that you did or said it specifically for that reason. I wouldn't feel like that if it wasn't true. My feelings are not just the facts, they are also the evidence that proves the facts. This is not about gut feelings or following your intuition, by the way. This is about believing something to be true just because they think it is, with no other evidence or supporting factors at all. It feels like someone doesn't like them, so that means that person definitely does not like them, even if the reality of the person's behavior doesn't actually support that conclusion at all. Instead of examining their feelings to see if they make sense or explore where they're coming from, narcissistic people take them as facts that are reflecting how things really are. That's one of the reasons, for example, some narcissists believe they are so good at reading people, even though in reality they are not. They believe they see what people are, quote unquote, hiding, not realizing that they're actually reading through their own emotional lens, and these emotions are distorting the input. If you notice, what people are supposedly hiding is always something about them in some way, and it's always something negative. That's not a coincidence. This unfalsifiable and egocentric auto-reinforcement of their own skewed interpretation of the events creates a negative emotional reaction in the narcissist that is often way out of proportion to what's going on, and it's all based on what they are telling themselves about what's happening. This leads to or occurs in tandem with more emotional reasoning and more cognitive distortions such as overgeneralization and mind reading until the situation has become totally out of control and even delusional. This is when we often see the abusive behaviors narcissistic personalities are known for, such as exploding or the silent treatment, because now they believe the other person deserves it. The other person often has no idea what happened or why the narcissist is suddenly so angry, withdrawn, or upset. It makes sense in some ways. Who wouldn't be upset if someone was trying to hurt or embarrass or anger them on purpose? Who wouldn't be upset if an important person to them doesn't like them? Most people would be at least a little annoyed or hurt. The problem is that the interpretation and the subsequent reaction to that interpretation are illogical. Many times the things narcissistic people are upset about are overblown, misinterpreted, just not true, or didn't happen. And the only so-called evidence narcissists actually have of any of it in these situations boils down to their own feelings. Feelings are important considerations in any situation, but they're not necessarily evidence of anything, and they do not necessarily reflect the reality of things at all. For example, if you feel bad or guilty when someone gives you a sincere compliment, and lots of people do, that doesn't mean the other person did anything wrong. If you feel anxiety before giving a big presentation, that doesn't mean it's going to go badly. Narcissists view their feelings, particularly their negative feelings, as reflective of reality, even though many times they're not, especially for narcissists who tend to have a chronically negative and egocentric view of things anyway. These negative feelings are the result of their inner landscape, their negative thoughts, and their perception problems. So, feeling bad after a compliment becomes proof that the complimentary person was trying to shame or upset them. They experience their feelings as coming from external sources, and this is usually other people. The most unfortunate thing about this kind of reasoning is that it's so off the beam, but you can't argue with it. How do you argue with someone's feelings? You're not trying to, but many times that's exactly how it's interpreted, with the narcissist angrily insisting you are trying to tell them how to feel. You're not, of course. Their feelings might even make sense if what they believe happened actually did happen. But it didn't. So all you can do is keep trying to tell them that they've got it all wrong. You are arguing facts, and they think they are too, but they're not. They're arguing feeling. They are arguing their emotional interpretation of the event as a fact. The conversation is about the fact that you intended to upset them on purpose or anger them on purpose or whatever, rather than entertaining any other possible interpretation of the situation. You, like any other non-pathological person, keep trying to explain to them what your actual intentions were. This doesn't work. They're having a thinking error, therefore their conclusions make perfect sense to them. Not only does the conclusion make sense, their feelings are considered evidence for this conclusion. This means they have irrefutable proof that what they're saying is true, along with whatever else has happened that they now view through this same distorted lens. You're not going to be able to argue against this without it coming across as trying to talk them out of their feelings or as lying. You are trying to tell them they don't need to be upset because their interpretation of the events is incorrect or mistaken, and that is received as telling them their feelings are wrong or as trying to gaslight them. This sounds absurd to most people, but narcissists usually cannot separate the facts from the feelings, and therefore they're not able to have this kind of discussion. It doesn't compute. Things are black and white for them, feelings are facts for them, and they just can't appreciate the context that you're trying to present. It's like talking to a small child in some ways, and you will save yourself a lot of energy and stress if you remember that. What they do understand, they're likely to reject anyway because feelings are facts, because you are now bad, and because they can't be wrong. You don't have the same goal here. Your goal is to resolve the problem. Their goal is to win and to prevent any emotional or ego trauma they may sustain from hearing things that they don't want to hear. That's why nothing can ever be resolved. They will not allow it. As with many other things that affect narcissists, cognitive distortions like emotional reasoning can affect other people as well, although usually not to the extreme degree and severity that we see in pathologically narcissistic personalities. Some of the issues narcissists have are issues lots of people have, but not only are the reasons for the issues often different, the issues affect narcissists to the point that they are usually pretty severely impacted by them, yet they are unable to see or address them. This is why people say if you think you could be a narcissist, you're probably not one. There can be exceptions to everything, but the overwhelming majority of truly pathologically narcissistic people do not seem to be capable of seeing this on their own, and usually not even when it's pointed out. They seem to legitimately believe the problem is everybody else, and because of things like cognitive distortions such as emotional reasoning, they're probably not going to be able to see otherwise. It's important to remember, though, this does not give narcissistic personalities a pass for their toxic or abusive behavior. They know the difference between what is okay and what is not okay. And even though the pain of other people is not really real to them in any true sense, they know that what they're doing is not okay. Many narcissists may not have any true empathy or moral compass to speak of, but they absolutely know that they are not supposed to do these things, and that's all that's necessary to hold them responsible for their actions. They are choosing to do things anyway, even though they know they're not supposed to do them, because they feel justified, because they believe the ends justify the means. There is no excuse for that. I hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online, over the phone, via text, via messenger, via email, and through Skype worldwide. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. I teach workshops, seminars, and clinics throughout the year, so if you're interested in seeing what we are running at this time, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. And if you are interested in joining our support group with multiple multiple meetings throughout the month and a guaranteed spot in monthly workshops, as well as access to exclusive content. You can do that by visiting littleshaman.org as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast, brought to you by betterhelp.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you. Have a beautiful day.